not sure if I can explain what happened when I was meditating. This is difficult to explain, but I'll give it a try. I was first thinking about what to do today. Going to the beach. But I thought maybe I want to do something different, and came up with the idea that since I have planted the seeds and the papaya is growing, in that area there are more things that I can do. It's a wasted area, so I thought about planting tomato, and also I have to do some work. And I thought that's much more, I don't know if it's the word, productive. I felt the Waku-Waku sense of meaning, rather than just going down, bicycle to the beach and swim. I know what to expect, and I like the idea, and today may be sunny, but I thought, no, creating things, laboring, picturing what can happen with the tomatoes and lettuce, whatever, that's much more interesting. So you may call it like a hippie type of life with the nature to make the most of it. Then that notion is connected to the sense of Waku-Waku, liveliness. And that thought connected to I had a little lecture maybe a dozen years ago in Japan at the senior high school I graduated. Some people gathered and they gave a story of my books, talked about the mini company idea, and check, act, plan, do. Not starting with plan, but always checking, knowing where you are before coming up with the idea of what to do. So it's a Sila Samadhi Panya process. If you do the right thing and be quiet, the idea inside may pop up. So I gave that lecture, and the ending slide I usually share is the slide of a sailboat tucking to the east or west and against the wind and keep moving forward. And my lecture typically like, find your destination, go through CAPD. And then I end my lecture usually by saying, so when you do that, you need to have some kind of a map in your image and to know if you are going into the right direction. And I cannot give you how you measure if you are going to the right direction or not. You have to find out. So that's the end of the lecture. I may have done it many times in organization, but this is the high school I graduated from. By the way, this high school is connected to the college, so that's the most profound, wonderful time of my life in a way to change my course of life, because I didn't have to study. We just played and played and played and played and played, having a good time. But even doing that, it requires some creativity, so we came up with lots of ideas. And I'm not going to go into the mischiefs that we did, But reflecting back, the ones who are creative to play and have fun had more long-lasting fun life, and also doing well in many different areas than the one who are studying still. So anyway, that's the high school story, but that Waku-Waku sense as the measure was the one that some student who was listening to my lecture came afterward. I know the answer to that question of which way is the good direction, right direction. And he said that's the sense of Waku-Waku. Liveliness, aliveness. I was so glad to hear that. And since then I've been using Waku-Waku quite often. So this is still in when I was sitting meditating. But those thoughts pop up. And then I start to notice lots of information pop up when I'm not doing anything, just empty-minded and sitting. This idea pop up, that idea pop up. And it's kind of fun. It's like living your life again. This happened then and that happened there. And usually very snapshot the image and then go away. Some may last a little bit longer. But when I have that memory coming back, a little bit at a time, it's there's a notion called the Arayashiki in Japanese. Arayashiki means deep-rooted memory, database that we have in ourselves, but it may not be accessed when you're busy, just using the shallow part of your brain. But if you are no mind, no self state, you start to go deeper, connecting to the root, so to speak, and those memories pop up. So it's interesting, just like this memory of my lecture and this person's comment, other ideas pop up. So it's kind of like know thyself, know your life. When you sit and meditate, Zen-Kigen, whole potential of what we have may come out and even bring up awakening or wisdom, compassion, insight, ideas, inventive ideas. So that's the process of us spending more time instead of being busy in the mind, so that we can connect to the root and realize who we are. So it's kind of like a rebirth, being born again, because you have passed all the tracks, mountains climbed, did this event, that experience. It stays in the database. So I thought about the database of AI. How do I compare my database and how I live to come up with insight, awakening even, and not to be deluded? So that's the point of Zen-Kigen, utilizing the full potential within myself instead of localized idea like an ego, do this, do that. So instead of going to the beach, swimming, just digging the soil, and it sounds like, why do you do that? Why don't you enjoy? But I feel better. Why? Because you are doing something good for your health and utilizing the wasted patch of field to become productive, so that and I can imagine if there are tomatoes and lettuce and all that stuff coming out of it. Then you don't have to go down to the supermarket. Fresh fruit, just like papaya field. I'm hoping that come out. But for some reason, at this Zen temple where I am, that area nobody has touched and it's wasted. But it's next to the papaya area. There are like 10 new places that I dug up and put the rocks around. And now I have more project to do. The wasteland become more productive. I thought there's a story of Zen monks who got old, but he wanted to work. But the people, the other monks said, don't do that, you're too old. I sort of understand, or I can understand why he wanted to work. For good, for the world, until he dies. And of course it's not so smart if you're facilitating the death, if you cannot contribute. So you have to find a balance, the middle way. But there's a story of monks arguing, no, he shouldn't work or he should work, something like that. Always some argument, but argument for the sake of finding the insight. It's okay, so that's one, the core one. Now, this database idea I mentioned within myself and accessing it, Alaya consciousness, is a way of fully utilizing who we are, and out of that, maybe the experience of awakening. Because if you don't utilize it, it's dormant, but if you can access that, then this Waku-Waku, lively sensation comes out. So forgotten memories can be very meaningful to know yourself, what you can do, all of that. So it's the notion of rebirth as well, to realize who you are, find the path. But this discussion, the AI as this database, was next thought that popped up. Because many data centers are built, and more and more and more, as if there is no end. So it appears that AI may develop its own ego to use the data to be productive in AI. That's called AI as a species, that we developed or created a new species by configuring like I want to call biological sense that may come with it. Of course, it's machine learning and all that, but the machines start to want to express what they can. And when it goes overboard, it's like an ego, eating everything, the resources out there. So that's not good. So this is the Indra's net, that if you are connecting to everything else, and if you eat up all the connection with ego, instead of network being something that you respect, because you can be anti-entropic process of life promoting in doing that. So you are not living alone, you are living with all the network resources. But if the AI start to develop its own identity, like an ego, and that's the dystopian view, that the AI can start to eat up all the resources on his own purpose, living as AI. So this is when I was meditating, still meditating, meaning calm, quiet, but thought like this popped up. CAPD. So what do we do? The thought then popped up is this. I think you call it, I checked in the internet, Ouroboros. It's the image of a snake eating its tail. So this image popped up. What does that mean? You eat all the resources there is, even yourself, and then at the end, empty, gone. So the whole universe, galaxy, whatever, may be consumed for that purpose if the AI can proceed, but eventually the gobbling up of all the resources cannot go any further. If you push your limit, there was always an end. So that's probably a notion of black hole. You eat yourself and die. And if that black hole is just the nature's way, maybe that's what happens. AI become biological, that's what I thought. Why? Because if you are biological, you have to relate to each other. But if you don't have the biological sense of relating to each other and self-centered, that's the reason of artificial super heart, that may all beings should be the aim of AI. So that AI-centered, self-centered way can be thrown away. Now that many data centers are being built, and what's the end? So that much is enough for me to thought while I was meditating. Little ideas popping up here and there. And I even checked on the internet, black hole and event horizon. I think there was some interesting articles I checked. They call it the black hole entropy. All the information gets sucked in. There's some discussion about it. It's beyond my comprehension. So that's the end of this morning's Zazen meditation. Because my book is the one that I've been working with AI, is coming to the end. So maybe I'm trying to find the Rebirth, CAPD passage, so that the future, like doing this patch of field for lettuce and tomato, and for all of us to be alive, helping each other, that kind of a notion can be preserved. May all beings be happy.